Hello and welcome back to Coder Gautam. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how I made this multiplayer rock, paper, scissors game using Node.js and Socket.io. Let's get started. So the first thing I did was make a new project on Replit, and I got started on the home screen. So basically I just created an Express server and I made like an index.html file which would be the home page. I'm gonna be making this as like a single page application, so there's only gonna be one HTML file that like controls the whole game. Then I just basically copied a bootstrap template so I could like get like a nice CSS on it. So then I'm just gonna make two buttons, one for create and one for join. So basically how this is gonna work is that when you press the create button, it's gonna give you a game code, then that you can like share with someone else, and they can use the join button to type that code in, and they'll both be connected in the same game. So I made a simple get endpoint, which basically returns game code as a JSON object, and basically the client can use that to connect to in Socket.io. So once I had my get endpoint done, I had to store the game code somewhere. So for the database, I used CouchDB, which seemed really easy to use for me. So I just set that up. When they create a new game, the game and like some other game information is stored in the database. So next I have to set up Socket.io. So this is what I'm going to be using for the real-time communication. And to do that, I basically have to set up my server with it, and I also have to listen for whenever a socket is connected. So next, I made a handler for the join event, so whenever someone joins, they will be like added to the database, and they will be like connected into the game. So now that people can actually join the game, I need to make a timer for each choice. I use the set interval, which basically runs some code every few milliseconds. So next, I have to make the game UI itself. So basically, I got some images and I used a bit of help from W3 Schools to get like the three images side by side and responsive. And this is what the UI looks like. And eventually, after a few failed attempts, I was able to get it to like work, and it was able to record both of the players' like choices and store it in the database. So next, I made some code that basically runs whenever both people are done playing, and it basically checks whoever won and sends a packet to those players saying who won and information about their game. I also made this cool animation, which is totally not just hiding and showing the elements, just totally. Then I got to work on what I thought was the most hardest thing of this project, the play again system. So basically, right now, the only way to have a rematch is to basically exit out of the game and create a new code which you have to share. But it would be much better if there was a simple play again button that both players can click, and that would just send them into a rematch. And this is what I kind of wanted to make. I was able to get most of the things done easily, like creating the button and like handling the packets, and I even got Aspire to like send the players into a rematch after they both pressed the button. The only problem was the timer didn't work well. The problem was that I was using a set interval for the timer. So basically when the game started, it would like create a set interval and it would like run some code every few milliseconds. And when the player got into a rematch, the same set interval would be created again, and for some weird reason, the set interval would be called twice. This made the timer twice as fast and made a lot of glitches in the package. And this took me a lot of hours to figure out. But eventually, I figured out the solution. Like all programming solutions, I found the answer on Stack Overflow. So basically, all I had to do was remove the set interval and replace it with the set timeout. So the difference is that a set timeout runs some code after a specific amount of milliseconds. And what I have to do is that in the code, I have to add a function call to itself. So it waited some milliseconds and then it runs some code, and in that code it would have a call back to itself. And this will give a loop that keeps running and running until the timer finishes. I think the answer is pretty smart, and thanks to whoever who wrote that. At this point, the game was fully playable, so I challenged my friend to a match, and he told me some things I could improve on the game. He said instead of having what you chose and what the opponent chose as text, he said I could maybe add an image to it, which will make it more clear for the player, which I thought was a really good idea, so I used a bit of code to add that, and now I think the game looks really nice. He also said I should add a win streak or how many wins or losses someone got, so I'm probably gonna add that later. And here is some short gameplay. So that's how I made my very own rock, paper, scissors game. If you guys liked it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.